I want to actually go into some of the tips that you have.
Sure.
One of the first ones is regarding cliches. So I'm curious, what is one of the most cliche pieces of screenwriting advice that is actually absolutely true?
Uh-huh.
And then vice versa, most cliche piece of screenwriting advice that is false.
Okay, so a cliche that is
Like
absolutely
writing is
true.
rewriting or something.
Sure.
Or, you know, something.
Let me think about that for a second. One that's true and one that's false. So a true cliche, in my opinion, I would say, is that you should write every day. Because if you get in the habit of not writing, then you're going to stay in the habit of not writing. If you get in the habit of writing, you're going to keep writing. If you're in this to be, like if you want to take time off, everyone needs time off. You're going to burn yourself out if you write like and never have fun, you know? So you still gotta take time. But if you're not writing every day, then you're not getting in the habit of writing, and then it's way too easy to just sit back and go watch shows instead of writing your own show. And then you don't get stuff done. And that's why it takes people, they've been writing the same script for the last 2 years, you know, and they're not even close to done with it yet. You know, like, oh yeah, I got the first act done. Really? In 2 years? Or they've written just one script and then never any more, and they're just shopping around the same script for 5 years and don't have any additional stuff. So butt in the seat is a must that I think is absolutely true. One that I think is absolutely not true is that you have to have everything format perfect. There are certain things that you do need to have. It needs to look like a screenplay. So if you turn something that looks like a novel, it's going to get thrown in the trash. There are certain components that it needs to have. It needs to have dialogue. It needs to have, unless it's a silent film, it also needs to have description, and it should look about the same. But nobody's going to fault you if like you have one too many lines in your description. So like the thing, even in my book, I mentioned that you should try to have 4 lines or less in your description paragraphs. Nobody's going to fault you if it's 5 lines. They're not going to be like, oh, this one paragraph is 5. No, can't do it. Typos are one that I would say you absolutely should fix if you can, but there are plenty of professional writers who have the occasional typo, so they're not going to throw it in the garbage the first typo they see, unless the typo's on page 1. Then they're probably going to throw it in the garbage immediately. So yeah, I would say that the formatting can, and then like bolding or not bolding your slug lines is another formatting thing where people are like, oh, if you, like nobody, like you can't bold your slug lines. Yes, you can. You can't underline your slug lines. Yes, you can. They're not going to throw it away. As long as the story's good, they're going to forgive you like minor faux pas or alterations of the formatting. So they're not going to be like, oh, this is not written correctly. They will do it if it looks nothing like a script, though. I will say that. If it doesn't even look like a screenplay, then they'll throw it away. But even things like page length is there's some give. You know, if I've heard that if it's not 90 pages to 120 pages, if it's less than 90 or more than 120, it'll get thrown away. That's not true. If it's 122, 123 pages, I won't have fun reading it, but I'm not going to throw it in the garbage. You know, if I think it's a good enough story, you know, for a producer, because I do reading on the side too as one of my side gigs and stuff for like producers and for contests and stuff, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Again,
so
I feel like I talked way too long.
No, I like that. Okay, so those are the two. One that's a cliche that is true, and one that's a cliche that maybe there's some give on.
Mm-hmm.
Tip number 1: experts are liars.
Yeah. So a lot of screenwriting books, I feel, are there to sell screenwriting books. And one of the first things I say in my book is that I'm not a guru or an expert of any kind. You know, here's what I've done, here's what I haven't done. I'm not going to lie to you and say, I know the answers. A lot of screenwriting gurus will tell you, like, this is the way it needs to be done. That's why I'm writing this book, so that you do it right. There are so many ways in this industry to be a writer. Like I said, some people outline, some people don't. Some people follow different methodologies of storytelling. You know, like some people may follow Blake Snyder's beat sheet. Some people may follow the hero's journey. they're very similar things, but they're different. And I even in the book, I talk about like 5 or 6 different methods of storytelling even. I'm not saying one is better than the other and that you need to write this way. I'm saying here are the options for you, you know.
Well, what are they?
Let's find. If you can pause the tape for a second so I can find it. Let's see, 134 is where stories starts, so it's probably around there. Again, I don't have everything memorized. All right, let's see, 5 types of conflict. Okay, so we got Aristotle's version. We got the Blake Snyder's Save the Cat beat sheet, Hero's Journey, Sid Field's Paradigm, the 5-act structure, the 4-act structure, because usually you've got the 3-act structure and stuff. Well, these guys are telling you there are more structures you can do than just 3-act. We got the mini movie method. We got Max Landis's rule of 3. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different versions of storytelling that I talk about here. There might even be more later on if I messed up on how I numbered my tips in here.
Oh, that's excellent.
But so
which do you prefer when you're writing?
I honestly don't use any of them. I just write a story. Like I said, I'm outlining like crazy and then revising my outline until I get a bulletproof story. So I'm not really going with any of these specific things. Like we got the Blake Snyder, you got your opening image, setup, state your theme, then the catalyst, the debate, the break in Act 2. I don't really think about any of that when I'm doing Act 1. I'm just starting with, okay, how does the world open so that we can know who the character we're going to follow is and what's going to happen in this story. I feel like the one thing is that by the end of Act 1, we should know what the story is going to be about, but I'm not going to break it down because I believe in Blake Snyder's book, he actually gives you even specific page numbers of where the thing should happen by. I'm like, that's way by the numbers. Like, it takes away too much creativity. I feel if you're going to be like that, the exception I would say is in television writing, because you've got to go to the commercials. If you're on like a broadcasting like NBC or something, but versus streaming, that you need to have like each act end with some kind of cliffhanger to bring the audience back after the commercial break, and you need to if you're gonna. I would say your A story and B story, you should have them in certain spots so that it flows throughout the thing. But for feature writing, I don't know that any of these are necessarily need to be in any specific order or by a certain page count, as long as they're there. Because you look at Forrest Gump. If you look at Forrest Gump, its Act 1 is like 5 minutes tops, and then the rest of it's in Act 2 for the most part. And then Act 3 is like the end. Whereas some methods tell you that like Act 1 should be ending on like between page 25 and 30. Well, Forrest Gump quelled that, didn't it? It's Act 1 is up until he's an adult, and then suddenly he's going off to war, and like now we're already in Act 2, and we're only like 5 to 10 minutes into the movie tops.
Right. But do you think for a newbie screenwriter, because I'm thinking about like a chef, and I remember I saw the professional chef in the kitchen.
Another job I've had, by the way.
Oh, you have?
I was
okay.
a sous chef once.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you're used to conflict and being under stress. And
I've done everything.
So, and I asked the chef, "Do you measure?" And the chef scoffed and said, "No, that's for amateurs or whatever." But do you think that after a while, then you don't need to say,
sure,
by this page, there's going to be this plot point.
Well, okay, so I feel like it's a little bit different though, because I will absolutely agree with the chef thing, because if I'm cooking something for the very first time as a recipe I've never used before, I'm going to follow the recipe to the thing. But then once I know what it's supposed to look like and taste like, I can just start eyeballing it. My mom has not used her measuring cup since probably the day I was born. She just kind of like, okay, the recipe calls for a cup. That's about a cup. There we go. Boom. You just kind of go by taste at that point. But and I would say doing by taste is a good phrase to use for the script and stuff. Is that these are all the guidelines, but if you change your mac and cheese recipe a little bit, it's still a damn good mac and cheese, just not the same mac and cheese that this person made. Right. And so it's so it's the same thing with the scripts. Like these are your outlines of the general story, right? So like the hero's journey, you've got like your epic adventure here. Here's how it would look. But if you tweak some stuff along the way, tell a different story, it's not better or worse than what he's got. It's a different story, And it might be better if the ingredients you use fit the bill, you know. So these are good things to know as the guidelines, which is why I mentioned so many of them, so you can see, okay, these are what all the experts are saying. Take those and work with them how you want. Maybe take a little bit from this pile, a little bit from this pile, and tell the stories you want to tell in the best way you can figure out how to tell it.